Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to the pregame show. We welcome to the championship edition. Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game in just a little over an hour away from kickoff. I'm Darren Smith, along with Steve Walls. We are inside the Arrowhead Stadium press box here in Kansas City, Missouri. Steve, your first impression, this is the seventh straight time that the Chiefs appeared in the AFC Championship game in the Mahomes era, and this will be the second time that they face off against the Buffalo Bills, hosting them here at home.
7 straight time. Well, I guess minus the COVID year. 7 straight time we've been in the press box doing
big
AFC Championship game. Covering this team, and it's funny because just driving here from the house, my son Peyton was like, "Man, that's all I know is Super Bowls and AFC Championship." I was like, "Yeah, there's a few players on this team that's the same way."
Yeah. I mean, and we've talked to them this week, players such as Trey McDuffie, Isaiah Pacheco, George Karlaftis, and, of course, the rookies from last year, who have, got their Super Bowl rings. That's all they know is at the end of the year they've had confetti drop on their heads. But first and foremost, your impression of this game. Buffalo coming to the game winners against the Baltimore Ravens last week in the division round, 27-25. Kansas City outlasted Houston 23-14 last week here.
Yeah, man. I just think the way that the Chiefs played in the divisional matchup is typical of how they played all season, right? Like, I mean, they haven't been blowing the doors off like we thought was going to happen. Since you've said it this past few weeks, it's like they should never have to punt a game. When you look at who they have active on their wide receiver depth chart. So looking at that game, I feel like it was a definite that the Chiefs are going to be here today.
This is a matchup where, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo, they know each other so well. They seem to play each other at least twice a year because they're like division leaders. They seem to play each other every year. Most of the time it's here at Arrowhead. This past season, Kansas City went to Buffalo. Of course, Buffalo outlasted Kansas City 30-21 in that game. This time around, of course, Kansas City hosting what they call the Arrowhead Invitational for the 6 out of 7 time over the last 7 seasons. Last year, of course, they were on the road against Baltimore, where they outlasted Baltimore. I think it was like 17-10 or something like that, where Kansas City got the lead early on and just held them off. Are you looking for, in this particular game, a high-scoring affair, or do you think it'll be more of a defensive battle? I
think it's going to be more high-scoring. I'm going to go out on a limb and say from the defensive side of things on the Chiefs, I feel like Spagnuolo has some stuff up his sleeve, and on the offensive side, I feel like Andy Reid has some things up his sleeve. I feel like we know what Buffalo is, right? We know Josh Allen is going to try to put matters into his own hands and play hero, and I really think if he does that or tries to do that, it's going to end up not well for him.
One of the things that we want Chiefs fans to understand is that in this game, and it seems to work out this way most of the season going to the playoffs, this is as healthy as Kansas City's been all season. With the exception of Rashee Rice with the IR that he's on, and McCole Hardman this past week who ended up being placed back on IR. Everyone is good to go, ready to go.
And you mentioned
pretty much 100%.
Mentioning health, this is the healthiest that Mahomes has been, I think, in his AFC Championship era. Even if you go back to 2019, I mean, he wasn't totally healthy. He was coming off the concussion. Remember?
2019, and he had the kneecap.
So I mean, this is really the healthiest that he's been, in a postseason.
Yeah, because I think 2 years ago he had the high ankle sprain against Jacksonville,
and he had the turf toe going to Tampa. I
think last year he was healthy.
No, he had the ankle. They were on ankle watch. Remember that?
Gosh, yeah. And of course, they had him listed with a high ankle sprain, which he suffered towards the end of the season. But he essentially had been pretty much healthy with the 3 weeks off. Once they got the bye and of course secured the number 1 seed. But coming into this game, of course, Kansas City is averaging about 23 points a game. The only team to score 30 against his defense was Buffalo in that Week 11 matchup. Kansas City is usually good at returning the favor when they lose to Buffalo in the regular season. Patrick Mahomes and this team are 3-0 against Buffalo, twice in the divisional round, once in the AFC Championship game. when you look at this matchup, of course, CBS and the NFL are built on it. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, but neither player will be on the field at the same time. Which is the more important factor when you watch this game? Patrick against their defense or Josh Allen against the Chiefs defense?
Ooh, which is more important? I think it's from if I'm on a defender, right? If I'm a defender on the Chiefs, I think it's more on Josh Allen, right? You got to cut the head off the snake. You've got to make sure that Josh Allen does not run all over you. I would. If I'm Steve Spagnuolo and I'm, one of the defenders, I want Josh Allen to beat me with his arm. I mean, if you think about you look at, and I kind of compare and contrasted their depth chart from, we were here earlier this week and they showed the 2020 divisional game.
We saw many players were not here.
And there were a lot of players that weren't on this Chiefs roster. There were a lot of players that weren't on currently on Buffalo's roster. I mean, they had Cole Beasley, they had Stephon Diggs, they had a bunch of guys. And I really don't think that they, the receivers that they have. Now, don't get me wrong, Shakir is good, and some of the other guys are decent, serviceable, but they're not Stephon Diggs or Cole Beasley.
Do we look at them because they're not household names, because Buffalo is not on a lot of national media unless Buffalo's facing another top tier team where you feature the quarterbacks but not the wide? Because again, we look at it, everybody knows Hollywood Brown just based on the name alone. Everybody knows DeAndre Hopkins, Juju, of course, with his time here, and in New England and Pittsburgh as well. I mean, so are you saying it's more so because they don't get a lot of the press coverage at the Chiefs that they're not as good?
I mean, they haven't been. Not they're not as good. We just don't know if they're that good, right? They're not proven. I just don't feel like they've shown us anything. You look at the teams around the league. I mean, what teams are going to do what. What guys that you have to, earmark, or if you're in the locker room, what game planning during the week. What guys that you see on film. I mean, they really don't jump off the page, and it's no disrespect. It's no disrespect to them. I mean, it just, if a guy is a first rounder or second rounder, he's expected to do well. All
right, let's jump into today's matchup. Kansas City on the offensive side of the football. They started off slow last week against the Houston Texans, which was different than what they did against them 4 weeks prior. With the addition of Hollywood Brown. What is going to be key, especially on the opening drive, whether Chiefs win the coin toss or not, on their first drive, what's going to be key for Kansas City to make sure that they don't go 3 and out and that they can put points on the board, preferably 7?
Get everybody active. I mean, you got to get your running game going. You've got to, get Travis going. You got to show this Buffalo team that you're ready to go and you're ready to get up early, because I feel like getting up early on this team is going to have to change their game plan. And I know I threw things out there earlier this week to you. It's like, when all these people are saying, Josh Allen's going to run the ball, Cook's going to run the ball. We get it, but like they may come out and say, all right, they're expecting us to run the ball, so let's do the opposite. Or are they going to stick with their strength? If I'm a betting man, I say they're going to try to come out there and stick with their strength, right? You're not going to come out there and try to do some things that you haven't done all season. And if you do, you're going to have the game of your life.
What's the biggest surprise that you've seen defensive teams do with Josh Allen or not do with Josh Allen that surprises you the most? I'll be honest.
That's a good question.
As much as he runs, I'm shocked the amount of, and I'm shocked he's not hit as much or as hard that you would think, especially when you have free reign on him, because he puts himself in a running back position.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw, who was it last week that just got the it was a $40,000 fine for hitting Josh Allen, hit helmet to helmet, Baltimore.
Humphreys,
yeah. The hits like that, and I was surprised. I'm like, Josh Allen got up from that? That was, I mean, it was right in the temple. Normally when guys get hit right there, they're dazed, but he didn't show it. If he didn't show it. And so I think to me, teams aren't playing like, how they used to play Cam Newton. I mean, they used to tee off on Cam and refs just, say much. But now I think the league's got a little weak on that from that standpoint. And I mean, I guess we're going to talk about the flags and things of the referees. But they haven't done that. Like, they haven't gave Josh Allen and Cam Newton treatment.
Yeah, which again, I'm just shocked that he has. Nobody's really gotten outside of Humphrey is probably a good hit on Allen.
Yeah.
Which again, as much as he runs, I'm just shocked that they
Because he
don't.
and Cam around the same size.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cam.
Yeah, and Cam is more, is more elusive than Josh Allen.
But I think now because of the advent of they throw him more flags, try to protect the quarterback. Even as big as he is, the league really don't want their quarterbacks taking those type of hits regardless. And even though he puts himself in the position of a running back, he doesn't slide. He tries to truck people over, which is, again, if you're Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, or especially Leo Chenal, those are opportunities to, get some nice, clean, hard hits on them.
Of course. I mean, you have to. Different league though from the Ray Lewis era. Even Von Miller's playing today, but I mean, Von's one of those guys that'll get after you.
Yeah, he will. I mean, and that's speaking of. Well, we'll get to Von and the defense side of the ball as well. But look at Kansas City last week when they started off. Isaiah Pacheco started off kind of slow. He didn't really contribute much in the win. I think he had maybe 6 yards overall. What do you see from the Chiefs running game, and how much do you see them going to it today? Because Kareem Hunt had 44 yards, but I believe 29, or most of it came on the last 2 drives in the game.
I feel like you've got to get up, and once you're up, you can kind of go to your running game. We both know when we watch this team, like we said, these
year in and year
out, they are what they are. Andy Reid is who he is. He's going to throw the football.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about offensive line too. They're not the same when Joe Thuney's not playing on the inside.
Funny you bring that up. I'm going to ask. Andy Reid is going to continue with what he did, what he's done the last couple of games, with the exclusion of the Denver game, and having Joe Thuney start at left tackle, Caliendo at left guard, and I guess switching he and Humphreys out at left tackle and shifting Thuney down to left guard. Do you like that? I mean, I know last week, early on they gave up a couple of sacks, and it was pretty clean the rest of the way. But do you like that move by Andy Reid and staying the same way?
I think yes, and the reason I say that, I mean, they've had to battle, right? Like, this defensive line isn't the best that they've faced all year. I mean, I would say, you could throw Max Crosby in there, and I know it's a little different lineup, but you throw that defense with the Raiders defense with Max Crosby, this Buffalo Bills team. Von Miller is Von Miller, but he's not prime Von Miller. I would say yes, but not right now.
Well, and also I would say I don't have a problem with it because we've seen what Thuney has done, lining up against Will Anderson, lining up against
T.J. Watt,
lining up against Myles Garrett, and keeping them away from Patrick. So, yes, I agree that this defensive line is not as good as what we faced before. Obviously, Von Miller is still Von Miller, but I don't have a problem with it because
he ain't prime Von Miller.
No. But this is the type of game that they signed to their contract for, to go big head hunting, and this is why they got him here for this particular game, for this particular purpose, to get after Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, sure. I definitely agree.
Looking ahead at the White House for Kansas. Well, hold on. Do you expect to see more Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco in today's game?
I think they're going to start with Pop.
Do you agree with that, though, based off what we saw last week?
Yes, because just knowing what I know from Isaiah Pacheco, and just his conversation and talking to him, he's not a guy that's going to fold. If so to speak, he's a guy that has a chip on his shoulder. He wears his heart on his sleeve, right? Like he doesn't want the negative press about himself. I think he's harder on himself than we are, But I think that being said, I feel like he's going to come out. But I think he's going to come out and actually play really well.
I'm going to get to the X Factor in a little bit because I'm curious to see what yours is. I already know what mine is going to be, and it might be a repeat of last week, because of today's game. But the outside, the wideouts. Last week, DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, and Juju Smith-Schuster did not register catches in last week's game. Obviously, Xavier Worthy and other players contributed, but they were out there, but seemed like they were just getting calories, burning calories.
And you know what, though?
And we joke about that.
It's crazy because it's happened before, right? But I mean, I'm not talking with that crew, but it's happened before where, if someone doesn't get any catches or doesn't play well, and Andy.
But we're not used to 3 top-tier players.
And Andy and Patrick are asked about it, during the week, and what happens? They make a point to get them going. So I think that
Nagy, when he was questioned this week, specifically said that it was not intentional. It was just how the game unfolded. But I think when he was getting questioned, it was more so he only played 16 snaps, which was kind of weird. Like he's not on the snap count, so why only 16 counts or 16 snaps? So looking at this, and again, we have a different vantage point, of course, from the fans, when we get a chance to look at the practices and the players and stuff like that. So you can say we're a little skewed, but again, my thing is with these players and with this offense and with the skill players that we have out there, it's hard for me to see why the Chiefs would have trouble moving the ball up and down. I get it, other team plays defense as well, but again, knowing that you're going up against Spags and Spags defense every day, it kind of, I mean, you got Trent McDuffie on the outside, now you got Jalen Watson back. How is it that the Chiefs, or should the Chiefs have problems moving the ball up and down the field today?
I don't think so. I think last week was a little weird. I mean, you get the run. First of all, you were off 3 weeks.
Okay.
You get the run back. And you're starting immediately in the red zone, right? Like you don't have any time to dink and dunk and trying to get the feel back of the game. So I think it started weird, and then in the flow of the game, it just kind of continued in that weird way. And I really feel like if it would have been a lot different had they started at the 30, and work their way down, because then at that point it's like, all right, I'm back, I've got my rhythm going. They really weren't able to get a rhythm.
We are live inside the Arrowhead Stadium press box for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be hosting the AFC Championship game for the 6th time out of 7 seasons, and they'll be taking on the Buffalo Bills. Kickoff is at, I believe, at 5:40 now on CBS, and of course you can watch it on your local CBS station
or your Fire Stick.
Or your Fire Stick, yes. Or you're just over the air, just plug a paper clip in the back of
People
your.
Still do that?
I do. I kind of.
What?
Why am I going to pay hundreds of dollars for an antenna when I can just put a paper clip back there and run a channel scan and still get the same HD channel?
Oh man! All right.
You didn't know that?
No, I mean I knew, but that's.
Hey, that was clutch back in the day.
I like to say I'm a little bit removed from that.
Ooh.
All right.
Why am I going to, sidebar, why am I going to spend money on an antenna when I can just plug a paper clip?
It's not HD.
It is HD.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what an antenna is. It's just a paper clip. It's just like the coaxial stuff. You just run a channel scan and you're good.
All right.
Try it. Yeah.
No.
Try it when you get home. I guarantee you're going to be like, damn, why? You go see Fox 4.2. So, anyway, looking at this now.
Oh, man.
We talked earlier, you mentioned earlier about the offensive line. One of the players that we hadn't really talked about, and you mentioned the tackle, but we've been talking more so on the left tackle side, but the right tackle side with Jawaan Taylor.
Yep. I want to get that's. You talk to him more than I do.
I do.
I mean, what's your take on it? Because I mean, it hasn't been. It's been a lot better.
It's been the biggest thing with Jawaan is the two things. Of course, ever since they highlighted how he gets essentially a half-second head start. I've talked to him time and time again. Like, bro, you gotta slow that down. And here's the thing. You're either coaching it or you're allowing it. It seems that the Kansas City Chiefs coaching staff is allowing it, even though we see it hurt them week in and week out.
Right.
And it seems like he has to get called 1, 2, or 3 times early on in the ball game before it stops, and you don't have that problem in the fourth quarter.
Who else you gonna go with?
Well,
you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, they did try to play.
You gonna put Wanye over there? No,
Well, you can't
it's the
take him
best
out.
option you got.
You can't take him out because of the salary,
Yeah.
first and foremost. But also, I still think he's your best player at that position. It just has to be preached upon with him, bro. You cannot of the
I get it.
he can't false. I mean, he can't be the reason why drives are stalled.
Yeah.
He cannot be the reason. So that's my take on that. I think he might have one call go against him today. Look, for me, I can live with the false start, or at least one. What I can't live with is going to be the holding. And now, to that extent, we've seen more of that on Trey Smith lately
Oh, yeah.
than we have on really any other player on the offensive line. That's my biggest concern because again, those end up being drive killers, putting them in second and long, third and long, and then we see Patrick trying to force something, and it doesn't happen. So overall, I hope that we see clean line play. I'm expecting, because it is football, I'm expecting some penalties, but to the extent that it's, at a minimum, that's what I hope to see.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I feel like this offensive line. I mean, you mentioned Trey Smith. Trey's playing for a contract, Nick. I mean, I think he'll break the bank. It's reset the.
He's gonna break it somewhere.
Yeah,
probably Tennessee.
Yeah, but I mean, still, he still needs to play well.
Oh, of course. And look, since that Tampa Bay Super Bowl, I mean, again, they've lost one AFC Championship game, and he and Creed Humphreys and Joe Tooney, which was the following season against Cincinnati, and then they've been to the last two and won the last two Super Bowls. So this is, I mean, success is really all they know, and this time of the season, this is, like you said, it's. You want the contract. You're going to be playing on the highest stage. You're going to have over 50 million people watching tonight's game.
Yeah.
And so what you do in tonight's game, you're putting on tape. And again, I think he's got enough. So, I think he's got enough good stuff on tape that whether it's here or someplace else, he's going to get the money. I do, however, want to flip the script on the offensive side of the football. For the Buffalo Bills. Again, Josh Allen, James Cook, you look at Matt Collins, you also look at Dalton Kincaid, a tight end. You specifically said that the Chiefs have had problems with tight ends this season.
Yeah.
What are you expecting with Josh Allen and this offense? Again, they also got Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, the rookie, and even Amari Cooper. So they do have some skilled players.
They have skilled players, they do.
What are you seeing on their side of the ball with them against this Chiefs defense?
Like I said, it's gonna be interesting. I feel like are they gonna be who they are? Are they gonna stay true to the run? I mean, we've seen, and we talked about watching this Chiefs team
did have a problem stopping run against them.
Yeah, we've seen AFC Championship games with this Chiefs team. We've seen other big games where quarterbacks teams kind of go away from where their strength is. Right, they go away from the run, and you try to be a passing team, right? Like Buffalo, their strength is Josh Allen and running the ball.
Here's the thing, though, and I was in the men's room when I heard this on the radio above us. The games that Buffalo lost, they were shootouts, and with the exception of Baltimore. Baltimore just blasted them. I think it was like 35-10.
Yeah.
But even some of the big wins against Detroit, they put up 40-some points. Against Los Angeles, they lost. They put up 40-some points. I'm thinking, and I was going to ask you earlier about it being a shootout. So, but now that I'm thinking about it, the only problem is that I would think, even with their offensive skill players, that it could be a shootout. But Spags defense really don't give up points like that. Again, I think it was just a situation, even in Buffalo. The Chiefs just fell behind early because Patrick's second pass of the game on the opening drive was an interception, which you can't do. And then they were playing catch up the entire game the rest of the way.
In a hostile environment, things just didn't go their way that game. I mean, you're going to have those kind of ebbs and flows of the season, in which Andy Reid says it all the time. So much parity in the league. That's his favorite thing to say. So I mean, it was just a bad game. I mean, so you think about just how they're going to come out today. Now, I've been watching so many people, whether it's, on any of these number of sports shows, talk about it's Josh Allen's time, right? Like, I've never heard of people say, oh, well, it's a player's time
You know what?
to win.
Look,
I just don't understand that.
I was trying to wait a little bit to even bring it up, but I've got you now. We've seen we've seen this a lot these past couple of weeks, and I've got to ask, and I asked some players around the league, but do you feel like America is rooting for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to? Well, hold on, let me finish it, because it seems like because they're tired of the Chiefs, or because the Chiefs. They have not done anything to put themselves in the role of the villain, so to speak. Scandals against them like it was with New England and the Spygate and the Deflategate. People just, I don't know, unless you don't like Taylor Swift or something, the people are just out there just wanting the Chiefs to lose. But do you feel like they just want the Chiefs to get knocked out? You really feel like America is somehow rooting for Josh Allen all of a sudden?
It's been that. Like, it's been Patrick Mahomes being, quote unquote, the best quarterback in the league, and they're still kind of throwing Josh Allen out there, or it's Joe Burrow. It's kind of weird, and I've never heard in sports that it's been like that, where you have, well, it's just his time. It's just his. I'm like, nah. You're only as good as your last outing, right? Like, and you just think about how many times that these teams have played in big games. Yeah, Josh Allen may win in the regular season, but then you get to the big game, and it just doesn't happen. So. No, I get it. I totally understand the fact that, sometimes they're not going to just beat you forever. Well, sometimes it just happens to be that way, right? Like the Tom Brady and the New England Patriots beat up on the Chiefs umpteen years until, Patrick Mahomes came along, and then they still weren't able to win. So I mean, I just don't like the fact that people will say, oh, it's just his time. No, man. He has to go out there and show why he's able to pull off a win.
Were you surprised by a lot of the analysts and former football players that were picking the Buffalo Bills? And I mean, and it's fine. I mean, if you think they're the better teams, that's so be it. But I was talking to Dan Graziano from ESPN while we were eating, and I asked him, I was like, are the people on the Get Upset specifically, are they saying a lot of stuff for Cap, or are they saying that he didn't? He was kind of shocked because he admitted that he had Baltimore beating Kansas City last year in the AFC Championship game, and when Kansas City won, he said to a T, I'm not betting against Kansas City at all this season. The man was like, I even bet the Chiefs were going to win in Week 18 against the Broncos.
Man. It's crazy, man. They've proven it time and time again. And I'm not on my high horse of like, all right, well, Patrick Mahomes he can't be beat. The Chiefs team can't be beat. I'm not saying that at all, because any team can be beat, just saying any given Sunday. But I just feel like this team and what they're playing for, what it's on at stake, right, is a three-peat, something that's never been done before. And sometimes when you got something that you're striving for, it is what it is. Nothing's going to stop you from getting there.
We are just about a half hour away from the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game right here at Arrowhead Stadium. Steve Walls and Darren Smith, we're inside the press box. And if all goes well, we're expected to be at Super Bowl 59 in a couple of weeks anyway.
And
but
it's funny you said that they put the it's about 40 minutes, right? So originally it was supposed to be at 5:30 Central Time. That extra 10 minutes is huge for this Chiefs team, and the reason I say that is because sometimes the game starts and you still got fans kind of filing in. That extra 10 minutes is going to allow everybody to be right in their seat, and this stadium is going to be rocking.
I wonder if it's a buffer for the NFC game, and I'm not sure what the score is. What's the score? Because I know you can see behind us.
41-23 Eagles.
Oh, they're just kicking it. Hopefully our slips are looking good. I can't tell right now. But we look at this game, Steve, and I want to look on the defensive side of football for the Kansas City Chiefs. what's the biggest obstacle to Josh Allen and this defense posed? Last time in Buffalo, when we were there, it was Josh Allen running the football, and he did, of course, have some, collision career. I think he had like 8 catches for 84 yards. I think Curtis Samuel had the one touchdown catch from Josh Allen. Josh Allen in the fourth quarter, when it was, I think, 23-21, broke loose on fourth down. On fourth down, they went for it, and he scored the game, essentially the game winning touchdown. And of course, Kansas City, when they got the ball back, Patrick threw an interception after a false start from Jawan Taylor on that drive that backed them up or whatever. How does the defense defend against Josh Allen second time around?
Just listening to what Justin Reed had to say earlier this week, also George Karlaftis and Nick Bolton. Those three stood out to me specifically because they talked about Coach Spags and what trust in their eyes and making sure that they see exactly what Josh Allen is trying to do, and don't go for some of the things that they went for when they played them in Buffalo. So I think trusting their eyes and making sure that they see exactly what's going on, because James Cook is a force to be reckoned with too. And I don't want to sit up here and say that this Buffalo offense is any slouches, but you've got to sell out and stop the run. I would say if Josh Allen is going to beat, if I'm Spags and I'm just playing to put my coach's hat on for a second, if Josh Allen is going to beat me, he's going to have to do it with his arm. Most definitely have to do it with his arm. And beat our secondary. When you think about with them up in Buffalo, you didn't have Jalen Watson, you didn't have Charles Omenihu. Those are two guys, especially Charles Omenihu. He didn't get to play in this game, or going to the Super Bowl last year. So I think
he played in the championship game. He got hurt
in the championship game, and was ACL.
Yeah.
And so I watched a lot of his videos he posts talking about back to this point. And so I think he's hungry. You got Mike Pennell, who is another guy who is possibly trying to play for another contract.
Yeah.
So
for me, it's all going to start up front, man. Chris Jones. Yeah. Chris Jones has got to be key. And
got to get after Josh Allen.
Got to get after him, when you get him in his grasp. And look, you got to go through it. I ain't saying no cheap shots, but if you can get extra little push, a little nudge on Josh, let him know that you're there. Yeah. Make him think twice about. Well, look, I want you to make him think twice about running the football first and foremost. Yeah. Make him want to hand that football off or drop back and pass. And when he drops back and pass,
it's funny you say that. Just talking to a couple guys this week, and I'm not gonna say any names. They let me know Josh Allen be talking. Like he be out there talking that cash.
Dude, look, we were here. Look, you can just pick a year on a Sunday night football game where Josh Allen was jumping over our defensive backs. Yeah. Well, Niners, you know what I'm saying? That, and I'm like, man, if y'all quit, wrap up, quit diving at his, feet or whatever, man, that's, this is going to be one of the situations. But to me, it's all going to start up front with Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, man. You've got to be able to set the edge, keep him inside the pocket. But when you do that, he's going to look for a hole to kind of run through. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, Nick Bolton's got to be ready for him.
Yeah, you got to have a spy on the quarterback. That's do it. And the cool thing about it is our defensive line has had a lot of success this season. Think about the multiple sack game that they've had. A few of them. George Karlaftis, he had 2 sacks last week?
Yeah. Against the Texans.
And big, even just thinking about some of the pass rushers that this team has had. They've been successful at able to do it.
You mentioned, look, and Najee Johnson. In the last game against Buffalo, he led the team in tackles in that game. So
that can't happen.
Yeah. Now, so with that, what do you see? How does Jalen Watson change things up for the Chiefs this time around?
It gives them more depth. he's a guy that's played in these big games now. Just watching him last week, I know he was on a pitch count, so to speak. And so I feel like he gives him more depth than opposite Trent McDuffie. He's the better of that
Duo.
that's not the duo, but just the secondary is Trent and then Jalen. Like that's 1-2 Batman Robin. So I feel like he's able to bring that you can play more man. You don't have to go zone. Because Nazee's getting beat. Josh Williams is getting beat. So I think he brings that to where you're able to, play a little bit more free. Because Spags will leave you on that island. He will. He talks about it.
He'll do it with no reservation.
Yeah, he talks about it. That's another reason why your statement about the defensive line is so important.
One other, I'm thinking about one of the players that's playing for a contract too, Justin Reed.
Mm-hmm.
This could potentially be his last game with the Chiefs if they fall short. I mean, he's one of the few players that has come here on a 3-year deal that Brett Veach seems to sign these players on, and every season he's been here has ended with ended with a Super Bowl win. How key is this play? Because look, we know he's a hard hitter, pause. But he's someone that will try to deplete a player. And look, and it's funny because talking to him, he's one thing that he has said, he has told me, and it ain't no secret, but he's told me that he wants a quarterback to run.
Yeah,
like he enjoys getting them hits on him. So, I do. Now if he gets a chance to hit Josh Allen, he better be on the winning side of that hit, because if not, he's gonna hear from us in the locker room.
Yeah, it's funny because his secondary. You just look at the Shamari Connor, the Jaden Hicks. Even though he's a rookie, Brian Cook, Justin Reed, Chris Roland Wallace, all these guys, have played in the big games, right? So there's no guy. I mean, other than Jaden Hicks. Shamari was thrown in the fire last year, and came through. So I think you just look at this secondary, man. They're all been there.
Before we go to our X factors, this is something new I want to ask you about. Who has the better set of players? So when you look at quarterback, who do you think has the edge at quarterback? Josh Allen. Okay.
Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. At running back between the Bills and the Chiefs.
That's a good one. I'm going to go with Chiefs just because they have two.
Okay.
You're able. There's no drop off.
Okay. Wide receivers and tight ends.
Chiefs
on both. Okay.
Yeah.
Offensive line. So I gotta go with Chiefs on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chiefs just because you think about when you think about their a lot of their running plays, they bring in a sixth offensive lineman. Buffalo does. So yeah, Chiefs.
Defensive line.
I'm gonna give you the Chiefs answer, man, because this is the reason why.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'm just asking you.
No. Reason why. Up and down that roster, man, I'm gonna say the Chiefs has the edge.
Linebackers.
I'm gonna say Chiefs. I'm gonna say Chiefs. Matt Milano is a baller, man, but that's a good question. Chiefs.
Defensive backs.
I'm gonna go Chiefs.
Chiefs will see. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, obviously you would think Chiefs have the edge, and obviously coaching as well.
Yeah.
Andy.
Yeah.
That was special team. I'm sorry, I didn't get the special teams.
Special teams, Chiefs. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you got Chiefs and all that. X factor for you on the offensive side of the ball.
It's gonna have to be Patrick Mahomes. I think this team is gonna have to go as he goes, and he can't afford to have any turnovers. If they play, if their first drive, if they come down and score a touchdown, it's going to be a good day for this Chiefs team. If they come down and have to, kick a field goal, you see Patrick taking his helmet off and walking to the sideline, it's going to be a long day. But their first drive has to end in a touchdown. It has to.
I like that for you with Patrick. Patrick's got to be accurate, man. I cannot stress.
No, no, no,
You know,
don't take my X factor.
no,
Give
no,
me your X
no, no,
factor.
no, 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 no. Oh, I got more than X factor, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, building off of yours, and the key for me when it comes to Patrick, he has to be accurate. The deep passes. He throws the ball deep. Now, with the exception of the one he threw to Xavier Worthy down on our end by the end zone
Yep.
last week, the pass to Hollywood Brown, again, when he throws his deep passes, they have to be on the money.
Yeah,
They have
I
to
agree.
be, and at least put it where the receiver can get it where the defensive player doesn't have a chance to intercept it or knock the ball out of bounds or something like
But
that.
here's the thing, though. If Buffalo, it's like, what are you going to do, right? I mean, you saw Travis get out the gate last week, and are you going to play a kind of a matchup zone? I feel like that's the only way that you're going to. You can't afford to go man to man because if with that you guys it's going to be a pick your poison.
Biggest key that I think that you missed out on with Patrick being your X factor, him running today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he says that the playoffs is his time.
Yeah. I mean, and I asked him this week in the presser about him not being afraid to run, with him being healthy.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, if it calls for it, he's
Yeah.
going to do it. For me, I said last week, man, it's going to be the play calling, man. Andy Reid. Andy Reid, whether you want to say Andy Reid or Matt Nagy calling the plays. Bro, I know that they rewatched that game in Buffalo over and over and over this week while they put the game plan together. They have got to play, and when you look back at what they did last week against Houston, especially with the slow start, and Pacheco had 4 of the first 7 plays or whatever was geared towards him, and we saw how that worked
Yeah, of
out.
course.
They have to make sure, like we talked about, get all the players involved. And this is the one game where if people talk about all season long, they're holding stuff back or whatever. No, hey, look, man, even our friend Nick Wright says that they're holding stuff back. This is the game where you have to open the playbook.
Yeah.
I mean, because there essentially is no tomorrow if you lose. I mean, it could have been like that last week, but I think that they probably felt that they were either going to face Baltimore or Buffalo coming into the AFC Championship game. So, I can kind of sense that. Okay, I can see where they held some stuff back.
Yeah.
But in this game, I mean,
Yeah,
everything has to come out. You've got to make sure that you're putting, and again, when it gets to 3rd and 1, man, you just got to run the football, get the first down, and extend the drive.
Here's the thing
All
on
that,
that,
hold
too.
on, all that dropping back to pass for Patrick on 3rd and 1. You got to get, you got to chill with that bull jive, dog.
Here's the thing on that too. What you don't want to see is what happened when they played. I think it was 22 when they played Cincinnati. And or is it 21?
When they lost.
21, yeah, they played Cincinnati, and it just didn't go right. It seemed like it was clicking, and then you had the little Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes tiff before the end of the first half. Yeah, and it kind of just went downhill from there. You don't want to see that. I think that they learned from that.
Well, I would hope so, but also, people try to blame Bieniemy. No, Patrick Mahomes was out there, and Patrick had to be. You got to be mentally strong.
Yeah,
you can't be folding like that. If you mad because the coach yelled at you, you in the wrong line. He hurt my feelings, man. You got to chill with that. We don't tolerate that. X factor for you on defense.
Oh, for the Chiefs, I would have to go with linebackers. I mean, it's going to be on Nick Bolton and company. Drew Tranquil. That's just your main job. People say you got one job. That's exactly what it is. It's got to be linebackers.
So you need somebody spying on Josh at all times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, mine is simple. Spags.
I knew you was gonna say that.
You
And it's funny because I was gonna say Spags, but I let you go ahead.
No, you didn't. You should have, because I mean, dude, you look. We always talk about how Spags, and Spags, to his credit, got a chance to interview for the Raiders coaching job, and unfortunately he didn't get it, which
Jacksonville, he interviewed for the Jets, yeah.
Selfishly, we're happy because it might mean he sticks around here. But to me, this is, look, a lot of people saying this is a real Super Bowl. So for me, this is a legacy type game for him. He's already won four Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. Because everybody is saying this is the Bills' time. This is the best team that they've had. This is Josh Allen's time. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Steve, this is the type of game. Especially, again, we always talk about what do you learn from the previous game that you face off against, especially if it's in the same season. If you beat a team, if you lose a team, well, he knows that there are a lot of stuff that they need to clean up to have the end result be different than it was last time around. So to me, his play calling, putting himself in a situation, knowing that Josh Allen is going to be looking for you to blitz him. You know what I'm saying? Because if you blitz him, hey, if somebody doesn't stay in their gap or doesn't stay home, he might try to hit his head on the goalpost. And of course, depending on if you're blitzing, and he gets the ball out to one of his receivers that we don't expect, because we haven't really talked about what Amari Cooper and some of these other players might actually do if he's throwing the football. If you're going to force Josh Allen to throw the football, you got to make sure that everybody, is staying in their lanes and staying home and making sure themselves in position to make the big plays. And I'm also going to be curious, because we know he'll do it in the second half, his timely blitzes and try to, and that's the biggest thing Kansas City's going to have to do, is try to force some turnovers today, which they didn't do last time they faced off.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't talk about that Corey just brought up is how big of a difference it doesn't make with the Bills starting safety being ruled out. I think it's a big deal.
Well, it's only a big difference if the Chiefs take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's whether it's throwing a deep pass or, again, having your wide receivers, having Hollywood and Xavier stretch the field and leaving the underneath open for, for Hollywood, Juju, or Travis or Noah. And again, it's frustrating because it's like the Chiefs have so many skilled players, and you're supposed to have the best quarterback in all of football on your team. Again, that's why I say his act going to be what's important, because if you give him time, there's no excuse for Patrick to not be able to make those completions.
Oh yeah, of course, I agree 100%.
So Steve, it's come down to this, man. Everybody wants to know who we picking and what the score's going to be, man. So with that said, we've heard all the pundits, we've heard all the naysayers, we've heard all the haters, and now is the time that we make our picks. Who do you see representing the AFC taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl?
Oh, man. It's an easy one. I feel like it's the Chiefs. I mean, I think, they're trying to do something that's never been done before, going for the three-peat. I do think that, like you got on me all the time about this season about, Travis Kelce doing the load management, me saying that, and I really 100% believe that. And that Patrick and Travis duo, you're going to see it a lot today. I think it's going to be one of those things that where they're going to come through, and at a time of need, I think Xavier Worthy is going to ball. He's going to spread the ball around a lot, and he's going to show the reason why he's the best quarterback in football. And I got the Chiefs 35-17.
Oh shit! I hope
35-17.
Oh, I hope it is that. I do want to ask you before I give my pick or my answer. Do you think that there's going to be a player on either side, whether it's Bills or Chiefs, that might stand out, have a big game that we haven't talked about, that we're not expecting?
I talked about this earlier this week. My cousin was asking me, what would the Bills have to do to be able to win the game? And I said, one, I feel like Josh Allen would have to have the game of his life. One. And the reason I said that is because he's asking about like Shakir and Keon Coleman and those guys. And I said, if they ball out, that means Josh Allen is playing well. So I feel like Josh would have to have the game of his life in order for them to win the game.
All right.
And I mean, like, it'd have to be a crazy. He's 100 plus rushing yards. It had to be a crazy type game.
You ain't lying. And
Yeah.
the Chiefs just collapsed like they did.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing. So for me, I do have Kansas City. It is no surprise. I'm not going to go against my preseason picks, and thus far, one half is getting there with the Eagles. So, and in that regards, me and Q are on the same page so far. But if Kansas City can win, I do expect Kansas City to win. Like you, I have them scoring 35 points. I do think Buffalo gets maybe an additional touchdown, maybe late in the ball game to get it like 35-24.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah. But I do have them. I do feel like Kansas City's going to have. They're going to have to score. They're going to and.
I agree.
Yeah, but also they're gonna have to try to steal somebody, because one thing that we know that, and we saw Washington try to do today against the Eagles, we know that that Buffalo is going to try to steal some possessions. So the Chiefs have to watch out for the fake punts, fake field goals. I mean, we saw that today against with the Washington Commanders against the Eagles. And when it's all said and done, I'm truly hoping that selfishly the Kansas City wins. So you and I, we're not like too bored in New Orleans, and we got Chiefs Kingdom down there, because I tell people all the time, it was not a fun time in LA, when it was the Bengals and the Rams, because again, Chiefs had everything going for them. They led by 2 scores going into the halftime, and then collapsed along the way. And then we saw at the halftime, it was like that was a Chiefs game if there ever was to be one, with them and the Rams. And so, but I also feel like this is a team of destiny, and I've kind of coined the phrase from destiny to dynasty, and the only way for them to get to that point is to win the day, get a chance to play for their 3rd straight Super Bowl, and let the chips fall where they may in New Orleans. So
you just got to get there.
Got to get there. Look, they get there. We everything else will take care of itself.
Yep.
All right. So before we get out of here, both Steve Walls and I will bring you post-game coverage here. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the presser. Of course, if the Chiefs win, we'll be on for a minute, because we'll bring you all the, we won't be on the field. We'll bring you all the pop circles from the locker room and the press room and just post game stuff.
I say we do something that we haven't done before. We send out links to, if you guys want to join in on the show. That's only if the Chiefs win. Join in on the show. We'll send you a link. You'll be able to come in, join the show, and talk about it. Talk about the show. Talk about the game with us.
We'll do that. We'll do that. Also, join us tomorrow night for the Red Hour. Myself, Steve Walls, along with DJ Q and Sean Tyler. We'll recap tonight's game, and of course, all things go according to plan. We'll preview Super Bowl 59, and of course. Join in New Orleans, whoever they'll be joining us live from Radio Row at the at the Convention Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. So make sure you follow Steve Walls at Steve Walls KC. Follow me at Darren Smith NFL, and in just about 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes. Sit back, relax. Make sure that you, of course, gotten your Gates Barbecue, 5 locations. If you hadn't gotten your Gates Barbecue, something wrong with you. Before we get out of here, Steve.
Craig Thompson asked, what Gates Barbecue we're eating, watching the game. Man, I wish I had a big play right now, man.
Before we get out of here, Steve, you want to thank your sponsors?
Appreciate Dillard's, Jeff, and Herman, and everyone out there that always, looks out for me. To go out there and shop in the men's department, and make sure you ask for Heather. Heather will take care of you. Go out there and just, ask for them. You can find what you need.
And as always, I'd like to thank Todd White and Todd White's Todd Taylor and Suits Clothing. Thank you. It's just a long title. But I want to thank Todd White and his company, as always, for making sure that I am dressed accordingly and dressed properly, game day ready. And make sure you stop out. He's got 2 locations, one out at the Legends, and, of course, one out at Ward Parkway on 85th and State Line. So for Steve Walls, I am Darren Smith. Also, make sure, again, you stop by Gates Barbecue, 5 locations. They do still have their gift card special, so you can get you a $25 gift card to give to someone for only $20. So make sure you stop by any of the 5 restaurants, and they'll get you squared away. But for Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Join us post-game and tomorrow night for the Red Hour. And go Chiefs, who will hopefully win this game and be on their way to New Orleans along with Steve Walls and I for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans on February the 9th. We're out of here.
Kansas City Chiefs. A reminder that the press box is a working area. And to ensure a proper atmosphere, Chiefs request